guys, welcome back to Lame Talk, the part of the show where we're going to talk the non-DCL stuff and related topics, as well as answering questions and other things of that nature. Here we'll have a few sections covering other games, movies, TV, relevant news, and also a Q&A. First things up, odd games. We're going to talk about Marvel Strike Force. DP, go ahead and take it away.
Marvel Strike Force. Well, this is actually Mr. Fanatic Jalapeno's suggestion as a game we were looking at this month. So I think the three of us, we are all in the same boat. We're all waiting for it to come out. We do know that it's currently in beta, and you can play it if you're in certain regions of the world. But we haven't gone through the necessary steps to try and play it currently. And we're just waiting for it to come out normally. But we have been watching a lot of people's content on the game, and let's get Mr. Jalapeno's opinion on that. What do you think about Marvel Strike Force?
Well, one thing that I really enjoyed from the footage I've seen so far is that it shares a lot of features to another game that I actually do play, which is the Star Wars game that's out. It's been
Galaxy of Heroes?
Galaxy Heroes, yeah. And what I like about it, the one thing I don't like about the Star Wars game is the graphics they're brutal for me. But there's a lot of things in the game that I really like little things, like for example, being able to play at a faster speed, just 4 times speed, things like that, being able to run through content quickly, so instead of actually having to individually go through each battle, you can kind of speed through a lot of different battles and things like that. And then there's just a ton of content. So from what I've seen so far with Marvel Strike Force, there's a lot of similarities between that and that Star Wars game. So I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, I love turn-based games in general. So seeing, my favorite Marvel characters going toe-to-toe in a strategic turn-based game is very exciting for me.
What do you think, Ogre?
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like I've been playing turn-based RPGs since I was a little kid. I started out with the original Dragon Quest, which was known as Dragon Warrior here in America, and then I started out playing Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasy, on my Nintendo, back in the day. So I've been playing RPGs for forever now, and I love that play style. I love it. So that's part of what drew me to DCL. So I'm gonna play Marvel Strike Force.
Just a question. Just to interject about the RPGs, right? The one thing that I noticed about Marvel Strike Force that
can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. One second. One sec. Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, my mic just So what I was saying about RPGs, just to sort of get into what Ogre was saying, what do you think about the time limit that they're putting in Marvel Strike Force? Because I saw that a lot of each battles has a certain time that you have to complete it in. So it doesn't give you the full turn-based RPG strategies as it was, originally made, as you're saying, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, back in the day. That's sort of the thing that they put into this game in DCL that we play. But now they're introducing this time element. It seems like the popular thing that they're doing with RPGs.
Active time battle?
Right. That's what I was looking for. Active time battle. That's it. What do you think about that element of Marvel Strike Force?
As long as it's implemented correctly, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Cool. So.
Yeah. And for me, honestly, I actually like the idea of setting a timer in battles. There's been a lot of battles on DC Legends where you just find yourself in that endless loop where you have, let's say, Hal Jordan fighting up against, let's say, Batman the Dark Knight, and just no one wins. And you're just sitting there and nothing happens. You just have to leave. So with this, it kind of forces you to put, those strikers on your team to get the job done. And I think that it basically bleeds into your strategy and who you bring to the table, and how you play the game. So I think of that as just another, level of strategy that you will have to adjust to.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing that I really like about Marvel Strike Force that I've been seeing from the footage that people are using is the fact that the battle aspect of the game seems a lot more dynamic. It seems a lot more fluid than than DCL. So what I'm saying is that the way the character animations, the way they move, you can actually see real movement. They're moving like right up to the character, and they're like punching him in the face, and they're moving around on like in different parts of the battlefield, right? And then they also have this sort of combo element. For example, the one thing that everyone's been seeing in the trailer that they put out was Iron Man comboing off of Captain America's shield, making his what seems to be a targeted move into like an AoE move, right? So that looked really cool. For example, that's something that I don't know if they could ever do something like that in DCL, because it's probably really hard to do in terms of programming mechanics.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, just watching the trailers and watching some of the gameplay, it seems like when you're playing, especially at the normal speed, you'll get a lot out of those animations, and I think that there's gonna be a lot of the wow factor. I think that it gets a little crazy when you do it in the 4 times speed. It does look a little silly, a little Benny Hill. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, I can't really complain about it at all, at least from what I've seen. Now, playing it could be completely different, but I can't really say much until that time happens.
Cool. There was one other thing about the way that they've introduced alliances. Like, they've already introduced alliances, and the game's still in beta, which is, first of all, kudos to them, because it took DCL a long time to get to alliances. But in terms of the events that they have, like, I've been watching superhero reviews content on alliance, like raids, I think it is. They have different levels of raids and different difficulties, it seems, and it looks like your alliance is battling together in this sort of event where you can collect, I guess, shards or fragments for certain characters or something like that. And it's increases in difficulty depending on your level or something like that, or it's always static, but it'll obviously be a lot harder for lower level people to battle. So it actually depends, like, who you have in your alliance and who you have that will be working towards certain goals and certain events will actually matter a lot. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be awesome. I mean, anytime you have a decent amount of PvE content, I think that just, really speaks volumes for the game. With us and DC Legends, there's not, you have a little bit of PvE content, and once you're finished, it's over. But having other events that's a little bit fresh, I think just keeps things going. So, I mean, I really look forward to that. And I hope that with the launch of this game, that it encourages DC Legends to actually kick it up a little bit and put in some extra content too.
Well, I mean, something that I was told while I was visiting over at DCL is that they are planning on putting out new PvE here coming after the first quarter. So we're almost through March, so the first quarter is almost out. So hopefully, soon we'll get this new PvE content.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, no, I'm crossing my fingers because that one legendary events is still locked.
Yeah, the injection of new content to the game will definitely help keep it alive, because that's what we really need. We need something to keep us interested, right? So the Martian Manhunter event, that was definitely interesting enough. But we still need more. We're addicts. Give us more. Okay. Well, any last thoughts on Marvel Strike Force before we move on?
No. I'm just looking forward to it.
Supposedly, the release date is scheduled for the end of March. I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate or not, but that's what I saw on the Reddit.
Oh, I do have one little bit of information. So I'm not sure about Apple because I don't have an iPhone. But with Google, if you go to the Google Play Store, you can actually go to Marvel Strike Force and it has a coming soon. And it gives you an option to pre-register. So as soon as the game comes out, you'll get notification. That way you'll know when the game's out. So I think that for Apple users, I think there might be something similar. So there's something to check out.
Oh, that's new. I haven't seen that yet. I've been looking.
I think for iOS users, the only way to pre-register is through their website. Like I've pre-registered myself on iOS, but they don't have anything in the actual iTunes store. So I think you have to go through it like the sort of semi-manual route. But you can do it. It's not. I think it's email-based at that point. But yeah.
Well, the Android one wasn't up until I guess very recently because I've been looking every.
Yeah, same here. I literally just pre-registered while we were doing this.
Well, as we're talking, I'll look through my iTunes store.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. Any last thoughts on Marvel Strike Force?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okie doke. Well then, let's go on to the next section, which is Silver Screen. So here, the first thing up is Black Panther. All of us have watched the Black Panther movie. Ogre, most recent, he literally watched it yesterday or today.
No, I watched it like a couple of hours ago.
It's fresh. It's fresh in your mind.
So how do we want to do this?
Like,
do we want to start off?
I finished the movie, got home, watched another movie, and then it was time for podcast.
Cool. Do we want to talk about this in terms of like how we're going to rate it, or giving out spoilers, or do all of that stuff?
Spoilers. I don't want to do a spoiler. I wouldn't. I
don't think we need to do a spoiler.
Okay. We'll do this. For those listening right now, we may talk about things in the movie and unintentionally spoil it. So if you don't want to spoil it all, cover your ears. But
right.
Right.
Just for a few minutes.
We'll try our best to not spoil the movie. Okay. So there we go. So overall, let's give it over to our guest, Mr. Jalapeno. I think you were the first one to watch the movie, so seems fair.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the acting, just how everything played out. The rollout of the characters, how the character development, even some of the kind of one-liner characters did a good job. And I was just immersed in the experience. There's a lot of awesome costumes, lot to look at visually. And, I really enjoyed the fight scenes, little clever and witty comments that they made throughout the movie and such. Overall, I mean, I just enjoyed it. And it was something that, I look forward to in these kind of action movies. And it got me really excited about the future movie that they're going to be coming out with with Infinity Wars, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that now too, so overall I just liked it. I liked it a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm the one who saw it today, so it's very fresh in my mind. And I want to spoil the crap out of it because I want to talk about specific things that I saw. But at the same time, I don't want to, But overall, I gave it a very solid 9 out of 10. Like it was a really, really, really good movie. Very, very solid. Definitely worth the watch. There was a couple of things that I had issue with, but that's just me being a dork. So I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, it's just decisions that were made. Nothing I can do about it really. But it was a really, really good movie. So highly recommend it if you haven't seen it yet.
So me personally, I think that I'm in the same boat as you guys. I couldn't have been happier when I walked out of the theater after that movie. That movie was definitely lived up to all its hype. I'm looking right now on Rotten Tomatoes. It's at 97%.
Oh wow!
7% with $40.9 million in sales. I'm not sure exactly what that's. I think it's probably more than crushing that. But they're over the billion mark worldwide. Yeah, I'm not sure what those numbers are, but in general, now, the one thing that's interesting about Black Panther's numbers, in terms of just statistics and overall sales, they haven't even been released in China yet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And here's the thing about Black Panther. A lot of the Chinese media and a lot of Chinese fans are really looking forward to it because of the fact that Black Panther as a character really resonates to Chinese people. I believe it's something in their culture that, like, black cats or panthers in general are actually really revered or really looked highly at. So they're really respected in general. And so a lot of people are probably just, even if they're not superhero fans or fans of superhero movies, a lot of them are probably going to go watch the movie just for the sake of it's a Black Panther movie. So that's something to think about. And the fact that they're reaching the numbers that they have without even being in one of the biggest markets in the world really says something. So, yeah, but I mean, let's break this down in sort of a technical aspect. What do you guys think of the acting, the actors? You know, what stood out to you in terms of scenes in the movie, without trying to spoil too much?
Yeah, I feel like they had a great combination of actors in this one. I mean, they had a star-studded cast. You know, you had character Forrest Whitaker just with a couple lines, but Angela Bassett. And it's just all of these great actors who are, you know, pulling up just one-liners and things like that, like I mentioned before. And of course, you know, the antagonists. I just loved them in Creed. Yeah, I loved them in Creed, and I really loved him, and you know, his little funny lines and things like that in this movie too. So, overall, I guess like for me, I really don't expect much in the by way of acting, you know, great acting from superhero movies. And I normally would frown upon people who are like, oh, the acting was not that great in said blah, blah, blah movie. And I'm like, it's a superhero movie. You really go to the theater to watch stuff blow up, you know, and yeah, if the acting's good, then yeah, it makes it a better enjoyable experience. But I mean, overall, I'm trying to watch them destroy the city and save everyone, you know, that's what I'm really there to do. And going to this movie is like, you got that element of action, but then you also got a decent, you know, cast that was able to really put together an amazing script and, you know, make you believe in what they were doing, which I liked. So.
Yeah, I think my favorite character dynamic was actually Prince T'Challa and his sister.
Oh yeah,
that was actually awesome. She was awesome. She did. She was absolutely hilarious. Amazing through that whole movie.
You know.
Yeah. She
did a really good job.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
But
and I will say, I'm not gonna lie, Angela Bassett's still hot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's not aging at all. That's crazy.
She is still gorgeous. She is still gorgeous. Like.
No. From an actor's point of view, as we're talking about actors, Chadwick Boseman definitely crushed it. Like he was a great Black Panther, and I think he still will be. And hopefully, we'll see a lot more of him in the Avengers movies. Michael B. Jordan killed it. He ran away with it with the whole Killmonger.
He was.
I couldn't have picked a better person. I was skeptical because of the way the trailers were showing him, because they're in this African setting and everyone sort of has their accent, I guess. They put on the African accent because of the environment that they're in. But in the trailer, you don't really get the backstory of Killmonger, so you don't know that he grew up in the States, right? So I was wondering, you know, how they fit this whole dynamic in. Is it going to be really poor acting because, you know, it's just like a guy who's in an African setting but can't put on the African accent? And it wasn't that at all.
Right.
It wasn't that at all. And then he broke out in that what's the name of their Wakanda, their Wakandan accent.
Yeah.
He broke out in their Wakandan speech in very, you know, important parts when it's like, hey, look, I'm still one of you.
Right.
You know.
It was good.
That was awesome. But looking at the cast, you all, like, as you're saying, it's completely star-studded. Forrest Whitaker, he's always Forrest Whitaker. He's always solid.
Oh yeah.
He's always playing. He's pretty much always in the same type of role in every movie.
Yeah.
But another character that doesn't get enough maybe limelight is Daniel Kaluuya, I guess his name is. He's W'Kabi. You guys might know him from the other movies he was in. Get Out, which was also...
Oh, yeah.
And he was also in one episode of Black Mirror, which I loved the episode that he was in, because he gave the best speech in that Black Mirror episode. If any of you guys... have, like, if you've never watched Black Mirror, that's fine, because every episode's a standalone. Go watch the one episode that he's in, and it'll, like...
Yeah, I believe it's the second... It's the second episode in the first season, I believe.
I think it's awesome. It just blew my mind. So that's like some crazy acting.
Real quick, so his sister was also in an episode of Black Mirror as well, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The 4th season. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to check the show out at some point.
Black Mirror is really cool. It's one of those those series that's like gets you thinking, right? It's not one of those things like it's also some depending on which episodes you watch. Sometimes you probably don't want to watch it in a darkly lit room. Nightmares, like if you're thinking of certain weird things, like if you're anyways. Okay, so
then I may not want to watch it. I don't know.
Another thing that I want to point out about the movie, and a lot of people have been commenting on in terms of Black Panther, is that it has sort of this Wonder Woman feel to it because the cast is almost all African American except for the like 2 people, I think. There's Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis, who's sort of the villains and the good guy on the helping out Black Panther, right? So aside from that, 99% of the cast is African American. And the director is African American, right? So Wonder Woman, for example, was not all female, but mainly directed by a female, big popular female star, and it had that sort of like, girl power movement, right? And now Black Panther was released during Black History Month, right? Black History. So I think it was, from my personal opinion, I think it was definitely well marketed, well thought out. And it really puts a lot of African American, what's the word here? Artists out there. It really puts them out there and gives them a lot of shine. And it was definitely well worth that. I guess experiment is not the right word here, but it's definitely a risk that the studio was taking, right? But it definitely paid off for them. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think that the results actually, the results that they've gotten, now knowing that people will come out to watch a movie that's let's say directed by and things like that, and a full cast of let's say African Americans or whatever can bring out crowds like that. I think that will then lead to maybe future hero movies. And other movies, of course, that could be, centered around someone, of color. Maybe, now they could do something with Native Americans. Now they do something more with, just like legit, Asian, things like that. It's actually, going out there and just saying, hey, people want to see just a good movie. And if you put together the right cast with the right script, it doesn't matter who's directing. People can do it. They can make it happen. So I'm very excited about the results. I think everyone was kind of shocked, almost like Deadpool shocked. I don't think people thought that Deadpool was going to do as well as it did, and it did a fantastic job. They put together a good movie that time. I'm looking forward to Deadpool 2. Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to, like, if they do a sequel to Black Panther, I'm looking forward to that. There's so many things I'm looking forward to now. Because
the superhero genre has definitely grown.
Yeah, definitely.
I would be surprised if they decided to not do a Black Panther 2. There is no reason for them not to right now.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah. But I think that we've come a long way since the I forgot which one it was. What Batman and Robin movie with I think we've come a long way from that level. So I'm very excited.
If you appreciate George Clooney as a comedian, you would like that if you knew what you're getting into. If you're thinking if you're going into this looking for a Batman movie, you'll probably be disappointed though.
yeah, exactly. You have to put yourself in the right set. That's all.
Yeah. So, okay. Any last thoughts on Black Panther before we move on?
Oh, so if a person goes to see it, I believe there's 2 scenes that happen after so that's just something to let people know.
Yeah So definitely stay all the way to the end.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, go see it.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it. Definitely worth the price of admission. Go see it right now. Don't wait for the DVD. Just go. Get out there.
Like I even took my 2-year-old daughter to go see it. It was worth it.
That's awesome.
Like she didn't have to pay for it, but obviously, I didn't have to pay for it either. She was a good girl,
exactly.
So it kept her attention. So
that's awesome.
So, on the topic of movies, now, following the Wonder Woman, the Black Panther thing, now there was talks about a Batgirl movie coming up in the future, and it was originally supposed to be Joss Whedon who was going to direct Batgirl. And for those of you who don't know, Joss Whedon was the person who took over the Justice League movie after Snyder had to take some time off. But the fact that he's no longer on this, the reason I think what he was saying on Twitter was basically he cut himself out of it. I'm not sure if that was completely true. There's rumors of him being fired, but basically he was saying there was script problems. He was saying like after a month he realized he didn't really have a good script for the movie, so he just let that go. But the other rumors following this is that they want to look into a female director for the movie, and this leads me to believe that they're going down the same route that they were taking with Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman, as you guys know, was directed by a female director and was highly praised for that fact, and the fact that it was mainly, centered around women. But Batgirl, what do you guys think about that in terms of a standalone movie for the DCEU?
Honestly, I do find it kind of not necessarily odd with Batgirl, but I do find it kind of strange that before they came out with they didn't do a standalone movie for each one of the characters in Justice League. So I was very shocked about that. And I'm also very shocked that it would be nice to see a Batgirl movie. I mean, she has there's definitely a lot that they can bring to the table with Batgirl. But I'm very shocked. I mean, are they coming out with, let's say, a standalone Aquaman movie, a Cyborg movie? Are they doing that?
They've confirmed both of those movies, actually.
The Aquaman movie is actually coming out next year.
Okay.
Cyborg, I believe, is 2 years.
Yeah. And they're going to do a Flash movie. And
they were going to do a Flash movie. I don't know where that's at right now.
And Ben Affleck, he was originally supposed to direct his own Batman standalone movie, but then he stepped down as the director.
The Batman.
Right. It's called, it was supposed to be called The Batman, but now he's just going to be an actor in it. He was going to try and also direct it, but I think he was saying on Twitter and social media saying that the fact that he really wants to commit as much as he can to his character, he doesn't think that he can do that while directing at the same time. So he decides to hand it off to someone else so that he can focus on being Batman. So that's good.
I think that's a good play by him.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I do like him as a director. I've seen a lot of his stuff, and he does great stuff as an actor and as a director. So
yeah.
Okay. With that being said, let's move on to some news. Now, there was some unfortunate news recently with the shootings that happened in Florida, and as a result of that. President Trump had a lot of people from Florida, I believe from the school, there in the White House and having discussions with him, with basically what's going on with gun control and so on and so forth. One of the things that a lot of game and popular media were picked on was the fact that he and many politicians before him and many people before him blamed violence in general on video games. For example, first-person shooters and so on, like overall violence being introduced to young people through video games. And what do you guys think about that?
Honestly, I will say this. And I mean, there definitely needs to be some fact checking to this, but the whole idea of the genre of first-person shooter from. And this may be 100% incorrect, but I was told that it basically originated with like kind of almost like simulators with the government, just to kind of desensitize someone who hasn't been in combat kind of situation. And I could see a person, let's say, who's like, in with let's say consistently doing the first person shooters and things like that, being slightly less or slightly more desensitized to real life violence. I know that playing Grand Theft Auto for a long time, I'm driving in a car and I look over, I'm like, man, that's a nice car. It's like, oh, you can't do that. That's you can't. You play a game for too long. I mean, but I don't think that forces people to go out there and commit violence. There's a lot more elements to it, and to use gaming as like the scapegoat for other deeper issues, I think is an unfair assessment, though.
Yeah, it really is. Gaming, they've got warning labels. To be fair, I've watched, I don't know how many parents buy their 8-year-old M-rated games. It's like, come on, this is for 18 plus. It says so on the game. Mm-hmm. You're the idiot that bought it for your kid. If you can't watch them while they play it and make sure that they understand there's a difference between reality and the game, then you're failing as a parent. Mm-hmm. Has nothing to do with the child because you're the one telling them, it's okay. It's okay. But I'm not going to get into that debate. That's
a whole separate issue in itself.
That's a whole separate issue, yeah. But as far as what Trump said about video game violence and everything else, it's like, this isn't the first time we've heard this. This happened back when all of us were growing up when Mortal Kombat first came out.
Definitely.
Like, it's always been around. Like, as soon as video games became violent is when they decided, oh, well, video game violence caused the violence. It's just like, you're stupid. That has nothing to do with it. There's a lot more issues that are, there's a lot more issues there. Like, you got to look at bullying and other things like that. So.
Well, if we're focusing on, for example, like fighters and first-person shooters, that's definitely easy to make that, what's the word here? That pull towards reality, like seeing where that lines up. I can see where people are getting that from. Now, here's another interesting thing that a lot of people might not know. In Japan, one company in general, like not just one game, but an entire company is, I wouldn't say outlawed, but soft banned from Japan. The company is Blizzard. Now, Blizzard releases a lot of different games, like real-time strategy games, MMORPGs, and so on and so forth. Most notably, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and so on. These games have been quote-unquote soft banned from Japan based on the fact of their level of addiction, right? And there was now, I heard about this, but I haven't actually seen it on the news, but people have told me it was on the news, that there was a group of concerned mothers, really. And they basically approached certain, ministries and saying that we can't let this type of gaming get out there because we see the effects that it has on certain kids in Korea, which is just next door to Japan. And we don't want that in our communities. We don't want that in our homes. We don't want them taking over the lives of our sons and daughters. Right. And they basically got rid of it before it became an issue because there was a lot of issues, for example, in Korea, people playing World of Warcraft or other MMORPGs where they got really into that universe, really got into that world. And then, what's the word here? They basically, for example, someone kills their character in game. Or someone steals one of their items in game and they lose it. They go nuts. They find out where that person actually lives in real life. Like maybe he's a popular person, a popular character, and they go track him down and they murder him. Like this is actually there have been several well-documented issues with this in Korea and even in North America too. And I know, I've played a lot of MMORPGs in my life growing up as well. I can see that, not that leap is not that far. So the fact that this level of violence, like violence translating from like a game into the real world, it doesn't actually have to be a violent game. It could just be a fantasy-based game. It could be any game, really. But
they're competitive.
Right, a competitive game. Any game where you have a need to be competitive, right? So that being said, getting back to what Ogre was saying, it's definitely on the parents to make sure that, they know what they're getting their kids into. But at the same time, what if you're an adult? What if you're playing the game and then now you're getting yourself immersed into the universe and then that, sort of changes the way you start thinking about reality. Is that really a real thing in real life? Because then it's no longer on the parents at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that there has to be something, the controls, and I feel like, and that's a bigger issue in itself. I feel like just in general, there's a lot of grooming people to be a certain type of way, to be consumers and things like that, and to be highly competitive. I mean, we have the Olympics and all these other sporting events and things like that, where, not even just video games, but, your sports team doesn't do well. And even though you're not directly involved, that, people riot because of that, so there's a lot, anytime that there's a high level of competition, the way we groom people to deal with situations, is basically putting a bunch of emotions out there that bubble over, and there are no real programs. I mean, people, I think that it would actually help out a lot with these competitive games. But other than that, I mean, you're just going to get those kind of people in life, and it's just very unfortunate. I don't think there's much you can do aside from saying, "Hey, it's not that important."
Yeah. It seems like the audio just cut out there for a bit. I think we lost a little bit of what you were saying, but it's okay.
No,
it's okay. Yeah. I think that's the gist of it.
It's fine. The gist, yes.
Okay. So in general, I think we're all sort of in the same page here. It's a very sensitive issue. It's very tough, but I think overall it's very hard to just blame video games for the violence and that we see in the real world. So that's that.
Yeah, now, exactly. I think that's the gist we're all kind of getting.
Speaking about, this is a pretty bad segue. Speaking about shootings, for those of you who are familiar with Fortnite, so Fortnite is what we call a battle royale style of game that also has a building element to it, kind of like Minecraft, but a lot more faster and interesting in that sense. But one of the biggest Fortnite players in the world, I would say, and probably the biggest Twitch streamer in the world, Ninja, recently broke the internet when he announced that he was going to be streaming playing Fortnite with Drake. So he sort of low-key mentioned it as he was just playing a match with someone else, like, oh yeah, later today I'm going to be playing with Drake. And everyone just didn't call him on it. And then a few minutes later, Drake posted something on Twitter. It was like, I'm going to be playing Fortnite with Ninja. And so we got to this point where Ninja, for those of you guys who don't know, he was an overnight sensation that literally blew up Twitch. And in terms of the amount of revenue he's making, I wouldn't be surprised if he's going maybe $2 to $3 million a month. Easy. No question.
Oh, wow.
No question. So, jeez. Like this guy, he has several million followers, and of that, 118 subscribers on Twitch, 118,000 subscribers or something like that. Like astronomical numbers, right? And like, let's just say each subscriber is a $5 subscriber. Just put that out there, right? So at the very least. So there you go. Then you have the people just donating for the sake of donating, right? So he's easily topping, absurd amounts of money. So the question is, for this person, is Drake coming online helping him promote himself, or is he helping Drake promote himself? Who's the bigger superstar here, right? Because Drake was even saying, as he was playing, basically, he low-key dropped, it was like, oh, I just want to watch the God do his work, right? And hashtag God's plan.
Right.
Right? So, I wouldn't be surprised in the future if Drake even said, we got to do this more in the future. But if Drake comes on to his stream and says, oh, hey guys, I have this new single coming out, you guys should check it out. I definitely wouldn't be surprised. But imagine there's other rappers, other superstars, athletes out there that play Fortnite. That's like, hey, I want to get in on this too. So this comes right after last month's podcast where we talked about esports becoming recognized as a real sport by the IOC. So the fact that you have celebrities now coming on to popular streamers' streams and playing with them, and for example, you also have that, I can't remember his name, the basketball player who owns Echo Fox, which is probably like the biggest esports team in the world that is, they play a bunch of different games. The fact that you have these recognized celebrities recognizing esports, it really definitely is pushing us towards, a brand new future. So what do you guys think about this whole situation?
So I feel like, in this new day and age, especially with, musicians, artists, things like that, because there's so many different mediums out there, to get your name out there and to stay fresh, you have to go to, the avenues where you can get extra eyes on you. So, let's say pulling a stunt like this for Drake actually does, help him out, because maybe these people weren't, people know of Drake, but the more his name is out there, of course, the more you probably think about him, and it's publicity, so I could easily see, this sort of thing happening more often, where there's a crossover, especially with the gaming industry becoming more vibrant and popular. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a whole bunch more crossovers with, known celebrities or up and coming celebrities mixed with, popular gamers and streamers and things of that nature. It seems very natural and kind of almost a new avenue of advertising or publicity now. So not too shocked.
Cool. Poger, any thoughts on this whole issue?
Sure.
All right,
I'll let you guys know when I get contacted by somebody.
Yeah.
we're not there yet, but if mobile gaming gets to that point too, it's not too far. It's not that far of a stretch. I think esports has made the leap, so mobile gaming is not that far behind. I hope. But anyways,
yeah.
So let's wrap things up here with questions. We'll do some questions for the lame talk part and cover some of the questions that we didn't get to in the game talk part. So there's a lot of questions for Mr. Jalapeno. And I'm gonna go through, let's see, 1, 2, 3 questions and group them all together. So from Kage Urufuru from Reddit, and he needs a haircut, and Crumbopulous Michael. These are all questions directed to you. So the first part is, for Fanatic Jalapeno, how do you have so much charisma? Marvel or DC? What got you into comics and gaming? And then another question related to that is, how do you stay so positive? What are you on? Let's see, Harley.
Yeah.
Hal Jordan and the Martian Manhunter comparison. What do you do for a job, and what do you to have so much money to put into DCL? Will you sign my underwear if I sign it to you? And will you wash them for me? That's one question.
That's nice. That's a lot of questions.
Then we're not done here. So then,
oh my god!
For the
He's got to answer the question, DP.
I know. I'm just gonna roll them all out so they can all do them at once, okay? Because I think you're reading them with me, right? So,
I'm looking at them.
For the sake of the naming, do you love jalapenos? Are you actually, like, for example, if you know Morty and Rick, are you actually
Pickle Rick? Yeah.
Are you actually a jalapeno that's talking to us on the podcast? And from Duloc, fellow streamer. Do you actually like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and do you have a favorite song?
And a favorite song. Okay, all right. Whew, let me drink a water. Let me get a little water real quick before I go to charisma. Well, I guess it kind of goes into another answer that's a little bit later in there. But at my job, I'm around a lot of people, and I love people. I love people. I love gaming. I am a big gamer. I'm a nerd like that, but I get excited about these things, and when I find a game that I really truly enjoy playing, that excitement, I guess, bleeds into my content that I put out there. So I think that's what really adds to that level of excitement and charisma. Marvel or DC? I'm gonna say, I love Marvel for their movies. I used to love the X-Men back in the day, like when they had that animated series. I used to love that. So I was a big Marvel fan for a long time, but I also love DC for the comic series. I loved how they did the refresh with the New 52. So I collected a lot of those comics. So I'm kind of like, it's like 50-50. I love both for different reasons. My favorite character overall, and this is not a question on here, but I just want to throw it in there anyway, is Deadpool. So he's in the Marvel universe. So they definitely got that. But then let's see what got me into comics and gaming. I think overall, I used to collect action figures a long time ago, and it was all that fantasy and all that stuff. And I just loved comics in general, just for, you know, the stories and things of that nature. And then, of course, gaming was a natural progression with that, and mobile gaming, because I mean, it's harder for me with my schedule and what I do to be able to sit in front of a console. So it just naturally progressed to, you know, from comics to gaming, to console gaming, to now mobile app gaming. So that's kind of how do I stay so positive? Because I love what I'm doing. That's how I stay so positive. And you know, and it's kind of one of those things where, you know, hopefully as time goes on, it'll get better. And that's kind of the outlook that I normally have when I'm approaching certain situations, and all the negativity that I do have, let's say about, you know, controversial things that happen. I try to say all those things when I'm not posting. And, you know, I'll say things like that out loud. I'm like, ooh, maybe that's a little harsh, so I can tone it back a little bit, take it down a notch or two, you know, before I actually put it out there, via, let's say, a topic or my videos and such. My thoughts on Hal Jordan and Martian Manhunter comparison. I mean, honestly, they're just kind of like twins, with the exception of how Jordan's spreading around shield and Martian Manhunter's spreading around awareness. I love both. Both have a high functionality. I'm a little concerned about Martian Manhunter because he is new. And I don't really know if everyone jumps on the bandwagon and if people get upset if he'll be put on a nerf block. But I do feel like Hal Jordan is safe because he's been out there since the beginning. And the best thing about Hal Jordan, in my opinion, is that they somehow managed to keep one of the first characters that you get viable, no matter who they've launched. Hal Jordan is still just as viable as day one. So I really love that about him. Martian Manhunter, I think, could be almost at that caliber. But we'll see. I'm just not working on him. I'm actually, as I'm answering these questions, I'm actually running legendary events on my phone. Let's see, what do I do for a job? So I model, as that's what I do. And then I also do stock trading. And then I dabble in other things as well. And that's, you know, I have a little bit of time and I have a little bit of extra money in order to put into the game. But right now, of course, I'm going more free to play. So that'll free up a little extra, you know, for me. Now, in regards to the next question, will I sign underwear? I'm not big into signing underwear. Yes. And so, and you know, I'm definitely not up for washing them either. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and humbly apologize about that. After that, let's see. So Fanatic Jalapeno, it's not because I love jalapenos. It's actually, I can't take any credit for it. It's all Google. I actually, when I first started playing the game, I got I didn't save the progress. So I was user, you know, 5, 6, 7 or something like that. And I actually started 2 accounts at the same time just to kind of see, you know, if I worked on this character versus that character. So I was doing that simultaneously. And unfortunately, one of the phones broke. And I realized real quick that if your name is user, whatever, that means that your account really technically has not been saved. And if something happens to your phone, you will lose all your progress. And I found that out the hard way. So I immediately on this account, I saved it with the Google Play Store, and they spit out Fanatic Jalapeno. The full name is like Fanatic Jalapeno 50314 or something like that. And, you know, honestly, I just roll with it. I didn't even think I was going to be making videos or anything like that at the time. Doing my first video was kind of weird for me to say this is Fanatic Jalapeno, but as time went on, it grew on me. And I thought it was just kind of funny. So I just kept it, and I will keep it. And
Google.
Yeah. Thanks, Google. So am I like Pickle Rick? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like him sometimes. Okay. So no, it's not an actual jalapeno on this podcast, right? Although I had some jalapenos earlier today. Cool. Now, let's see. Do I like red hot chili peppers? Yeah. As a band, I mean, I really I really respect their music, and there's a lot of songs that I used to really love to listen to. And as for my favorite song now, it's kind of odd. I actually went to Hamilton not too long ago, and over in Broadway here, and in New York, and I absolutely love the soundtrack so much that I actually bought that, and I just kind of listen to it all the time. And there's one song in particular that I can listen to over and over again. It's just a fun song to listen to. Is Washington on Your Side. A part of the Hamilton soundtrack. So that is my favorite song right now, and it normally changes from like week to week or month to month. So I think I answered everything.
Cool. So let's cover some questions that weren't able to cover in the Game Talk half. So Sagittarius 077 said for Fanatic Jalapeno, I know Joker was one of your favorites in the game, and they made it worse with rework. But in my opinion, he is more of the enraged character and should have been like that from the start. In the Dark Knight Returns animated movies, he made Batman so angry, enraged, that he finally killed him. So what's your opinion of that?
So, the thing about that is, had he been an enraged character from the start, I wouldn't have had a problem. I feel like they could have made an additional Joker to have this kit, because it's a completely different kit. And what made me, I guess, really upset about the change was really that they took the core or the DNA of a character and completely switched it. So, I invested in a bleed character. I expected even after rework that I would still have a bleed character. It'd almost be like if they took Zatanna and turned her from a healer to a character that specialized in it. And yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, I actually needed her to heal for me, just like I needed him to supply bleeds with my bleed team. So I was like, well, now he's not a part of that. Now, could he be a good enraged character? I mean, right now, in my opinion, Silence and Enrage are probably the two lamest debuffs. And that's my opinion. And the reason for it is because you have so many heavy hitting characters out there. And you even have Grundy, who gets powerful, even more powerful when you enrage him. So it's like, do I like him being the king of enrage? No, because he's the king of a very lame buff, in my opinion. So overall, I feel like if they were gonna have a Joker, really focus on enrage, they should have just made another Joker instead of basically ruining the bleed Joker that we did have. So
they could have reworked.
That's my opinion.
Damage Goods Joker.
They could have, or at least kept some of his stuff. It's just like they almost like as the killing joke, right? He throws out those bleeds when he dies, and they don't do anything.
It just really is a joke.
It is a joke. Oh goodness!
Something I do want to point out. I don't know if you got a chance to hear this from me before. When I was visiting in San Francisco, they actually did say that because of the outcry from the community, because of Dr. Fate and Joker Clan Prince, that no rework character will ever be a complete overhaul like that anymore. It's going to be more like the Robin and Catwoman style now.
That's really good. Well, I mean, it would be nice if they would actually just, unrework the Joker. That would be good.
Well, to be fair, he's had actually 2 reworks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was different even before.
No, so I didn't know about that Joker. I knew. I mean, with this character, I felt like for perfection for him, if they would have just, instead of launching the Red Hood, they could have just literally gave in his rework the Joker switched his team leader ability to what Red Hood's is currently, and then just switched his heal from, when everyone died to an overheal. And that could have been all they had to do with that character. He would have been fantastic. Oh, I mean, he was great the way he was, but he would have been even more beastly. But that's just my opinion about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, moving on. Next question from BG Bat was for Ogre. So does Martian Manhunter still feel like the way he did when you tested him out at WB San Francisco? And he says, I remember you saying that he was a striker class, but seems to fit more into a support class, sort of sharing the same gears as Green Lantern Hal Jordan. Are there noticeable differences from then until now? I.e., do you think that his gear set kit was changed at all?
He feels the same to me. He doesn't like. I got to play with him, just like I said, very, very little. So I mean, me misconstruing him as a striker and not a mixed tank, I didn't really look at the gear sets when I was doing all that, so I don't really know. Like, he still feels about the same to me. So
okay, cool. But yeah, he definitely looks like he's sort of that support mixed tank style. So it looks cool.
Yeah, and it could have just been who I was using him with that he made him look like more of a striker.
Awesome.
So
now, the last question is from Mr. Scotty Mac, and this question, I guess, for all of us. What's the total cost of real-life money that you all individually have spent on the game? And how many hours each day does it consume of your life? And after reviewing the kits of all the characters from this month, how would you rank them in terms of power from top to bottom? So, have at it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, if you don't want to answer it, I'll go ahead and answer mine.
Okay, go ahead. You can go first, and
I'll go ahead and say that I've spent probably, all said, between all the gift cards and everything else that I've gotten, and actually money that I've spent myself, I'm still under $500, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
And I think most of that, and like I said, most of that is just gift cards. Of my own money, I've spent maybe $150 throughout the whole life of the game. So I don't know.
Nice. Well, I had to say that mine is a little more substantial than that, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. But I've definitely spent a considerable amount on this. Timing, or the time, is, I think, I feel like I spend less time now on it than I was before, mainly because now I kind of know what I want to get accomplished. So each day I'm not really on the game actively playing, but I think I spend a lot of time on the app, mostly like reading comments and chatting up with my Alliance members and reading topics and things like that. So I love how they introduced the forum in the game because of that. Time spent in the app is a lot more than actively playing on the app. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Personally, me, from my point of view, I'm like Ogre. Maybe of my own money, I've probably spent maybe $300 to $400. I've only bought 2 character packs, being Red Hood and Martian Manhunter up until now. So that's $200, and then everything else is just sort of like small increments here and there of other things. But but not that much. But mainly, I'm not adverse to spending money. It's more of like, where do I see the value? And as people know on Reddit, I'm one of those financial guys. I'm one of the sort of max miners. So I try and look for the most value I can get out of anything I want. So, for example, if I think Red Hood's going to be a big investment for me, or if Martian Manhunter is going to be something I really want at a certain rank or certain level, I'll go in for it. But otherwise, I won't really if I can do it another way. In terms of hours spent in this game, I'm probably on the higher end of this. I probably spend, throughout several points of the day, at least 1 or 2 hours each time that I log into the game. So probably doing PvP and PvE content all at the same time. So I would probably say I'd log into the game maybe 3 or 4 times a day. So that's at least 3 or 4 hours a day. That's quite a decent amount, I think, just playing. The other thing for me, though, is that the element, as Jalapeno was saying, the community element, you personally were using the community center. We use Reddit a lot and Discord. So a lot of my time is not on my phone, is now consumed with Reddit and Discord. It's the community surrounding DCL that's actually taking up the majority of my time. So of the 3 and 4 hours I spend playing the game, I probably spend double that just reading stuff from Discord and from Reddit. So I'm just on the train, going to work, coming back from work, during my breaks, just always looking at stuff online. So that's probably a large part of what's taking up my time in my life these days. And my wife's not that happy about it. But, what about you, Ogre?
Yeah, as far as like actual playtime, let's see. On days that I don't create videos, I play probably 2 to 3 hours broken up, depending on what kind of day it is. If it's a heroic day in Alliances, I play a little bit longer. If it's a PvP day, I play a little bit less. And then I do spend a lot more time in Reddit and Discord.
Uh-huh.
So I probably, all said and done throughout the day, probably 6 or so hours, 7 hours throughout the day, broken up.
And I think that I think there are amongst the community members, the big community members out there are people who spend probably the majority of their day online, like via community channels or being in game. So I think the game has really consumed a lot of people's lives, but it's not a bad thing, I think, because the community factor, like that, the alliance and speaking to people and just, you have buddies all over the world. So it's awesome. I think it's a big thing for the game. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I've never would have thought about starting a podcast or being a Reddit content creator or a YouTube content creator or doing anything like this if it hadn't been for DCL, to be fair. So, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing.
There you go. So, about the characters this month. Oh, yeah? Do you want to say something about?
Oh, yeah, no. I was going to say about the characters for this month.
Let's go ahead and get it. So
all right, 1 through 5.
Yeah, 1 through 5. Who's number 1?
All right. So for me, I'm still working on Martian Manhunter, but I'd have to say that just from playing.
Are we going on an excitement level or on actual value?
Your personal scale. Your personal scale.
Yeah, so I would have to go with number 1 for me is Swamp Thing. That rework for Swamp Thing is absolutely amazing. And I think that you're going to probably see a lot of him and fear him in PvP and all that and red alerts. I think next it will probably have to be, for me, Martian Manhunter. And then after that, I have to go to Etrigan and then Constantine. And then, unfortunately, and last, I go with Jessica Cruz. That's the rank that I would give him.
Fair enough. Ogre?
For me personally, I put Constantine as number 1. He's one that when I saw him, when I got to do that preview, I was so excited to get him in game finally. And he also happens to be a bleed character. So I'm like, oh! I was so happy when I found that out. So I was really looking forward to him. I'm really looking forward to finally getting to play him a little bit more when he has his second PvP week finally. So he's my number 1. Number 2, I have to put Swamp Thing. His rework has been absolutely amazing. Number 3, I'm going to go ahead and throw Jessica Cruz up there because I think she actually got a really, really good rework. And she's definitely a lot more playable than she was. Number 4, I'm going to put Etrigan. And number 5, I'm going to put Martian Manhunter just because, well, he's cool, but I don't care.
Fair enough.
That's just me personally. I just don't care.
For me, my order is probably going to be Etrigan number 1, then Martian Manhunter, and Constantine. So the 3 new characters first, mainly because Etrigan, well, all 3 of them, in a way, are all special damage dealers. And to me, like, special damage is something I'm really interested into right now. So that's why. Etrigan is one of the more interesting mystics because, like I said before, he's really fast and he has a self-healing ability and is a pump, and he can pump himself, can buff himself, and huge damage output. Just overall amazing kit. Constantine is more of like the more interesting character. That's why I put him on like sort of that mid-level, but he's not like I don't think he has that potential to be the best right now. He might be the best eventually. He might have some broken elements to him, but he needs something to really pop right now. So that's why I think he's good, but not the best. Martian Manhunter, the awareness to me is super interesting on top of the fact that he's a special damage dealer. So I'm not really sure where I'm going with Martian Manhunter, but I do think that he's going to be a big part of my lineup going forward. Then Swamp Thing and then Jessica Cruz. Now, Swamp Thing, I haven't played with him personally yet, but I can definitely see him being one of the scariest characters to come up against in any mode of the game right now. And Jessica Cruz, she probably has one of the best like reworked kits that I've seen so far. Or sorry, best reworked gear sets in terms of her damage output and everything that she's doing. So overall, all 5 characters have been great. It's really hard to actually say which is first and which is fifth. So
yeah,
this month is
very close.
Yeah, really good. Well,
yeah, as far as playability, they're all playable.
Yeah, it's been really good. And with that, unless you guys have anything else to say, I will wrap it up there.
Yeah, I'm good. I appreciate you guys inviting me here again, and it was fun chit-chatting about all kinds of things.
So
yeah, thanks again for hanging out with us as late as you are.
yeah. So, it's almost 3:00 over here.
Sorry about that. So also for you guys listening who were listening on Discord, we ran into some technical difficulty. I think we broke Discord or something. So our audio channel seemed to have crashed midway there. So the rest of the recording, the midway half of Lame Talk kind of got cut off. But you can hear it on the podcast when it comes out. So, with that, Ogre, any last words?
No, I just want to thank everybody for listening, and thanks again to our guest, Fanatic Jalapeno.
Okay.
So,
and Fanatic Jalapeno, any last words?
Always drink your Ovaltine.
So you guys have
and eat your Wheaties.
Yeah, if you guys haven't already, you guys can follow him on YouTube under. Is it Fanatic Jalapeno or is it your regular?
No, just my name, Pierre Woods. That's how you find me. Unfortunately, I've been trying to use create hashtags or something like that where you can find me, but because my name is there, it's Pierre Woods. I don't really mind anybody knowing my full name. It doesn't matter to me. But if you want to look for my videos, it would be under Pierre Woods to find me.
So yeah, definitely check him up. He puts out a lot of great content. So
Thanks, guys.
And as for us, the Oddsmen, if you haven't already, you can follow us on social media at Twitter and Facebook and SoundCloud at the Oddsmen. And if you like what we're doing here, you can help support us on Patreon at patreon.com/The Oddsmen. And again, another shout out to our newest patron, Mr. Daniel H. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. And there you go. So with that,
cool.
We'll play the outro and wrap it up there.
Hey guys, this is Seth Rogen. I wanted to give a huge shout out and thanks to everyone for listening. Catch us when we go live on Discord and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and SoundCloud at The Oddsman. Feel free to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/The Oddsman for a variety of opportunities to help us grow and provide better content. Thanks again for your continued support, and as always, enjoy and grind on.